Well, if Boone Pickens has his way, those semis barreling down the highway will become natural gas as next big customer. It's been more than a year since Pickens debuted his Pickens plan. Part of the legendary oil man's strategy is to convert the nation's diesel big rigs to run on natural gas. Well, Clean Sky's Lee Patrick Sullivan take a look at this phenomenon. He's here now to fill us in and talk about the possibility that the big rigs might be electric one day.
That's right, Susan. There's been a huge push since President Obama took office to electrify the transportation sector. Now, most agree it can be done in theory with some changes in driving habits and a new infrastructure. But when it comes to big rigs, that's a different story. As Boone Pickens famously says, a battery won't move an 18-wheeler. Or will it? For more than a year, Boone Pickens has had a plan. And as a part of that plan, Mr. Pickens wants to turn the nation's 6 million diesel big rigs into natural gas rigs.
We want to get off the foreign oil, so we'll, in the meantime, natural gas will do the job. And today, batteries don't move 18-wheelers.
But is that true? After all, there have been great strides in lithium-ion battery technology in the past decade. General Motors is betting the store on the success of the Chevy Volt, a car powered by batteries.
Well, I think Mr. Pickens is correct about the potential of batteries right now with the technology. The Chevrolet Volt's a compact vehicle because we've pretty much pushed the battery energy density to its limits.
The long-haul trucking industry has been asked to change their rigs already once this decade when a new clean diesel engine was introduced in 2007. This lower sulfur rig is going to be required for all truckers at the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles by the year 2012. And although natural gas rigs are on the road today, the American Trucking Association says there's still not enough data on how they perform.
It's always hard for most people to understand, but like when we got the '07 engines, they want to know after a month or two, well, how's it going? Well, it really takes a year or more to break in a truck engine. These trucks run for millions of miles, not 100,000 that we are used to in our cars. We're finding, again, generally speaking, as I talk to my members who are operating fleets long enough, they seem to be a little bit higher cost to maintain. They obviously require a different kind of mechanical approach to it, so you can't use your guys, I don't think, that we're doing the older trucks that are going to move to servicing these trucks.
The idea of electric trucks, at least on a small scale, got a boost last month when Smith Electric introduced their Newton delivery trucks. And that company's president says their electric motors will move a big rig, just not that far.
Well, I think that the fundamental challenge that is battery storage, right? You just need enough power to keep going over long distances. And so I think the torque exists today. You can build an electric motor that will move a semi. The problem is you won't have the range, and typically needing to run over long distances until you have charging infrastructure and rapid charging infrastructure that can enable that, it just isn't really a good application at this point.
But there are companies out there trying to solve that Boone statement of
the battery won't move an 18-wheelers.
Start with baby steps, and the first step is to hybridize the trucks, and even that requires a pretty big battery. But there's some great things you can do with emissions by just leveling out the loads on a truck for acceleration and, let's say, uphill climbs, for example, and then regen that energy on the downhill and braking.
And companies are looking into other ways batteries can help reduce fuel costs in big rigs by using them to power cabs when the truck is not moving and for powering refrigeration units. And Hino Motors, a division of Toyota, says they will have a hybrid big rig, that's hard to say 3 times fast, hybrid big rig on the road in 2010. Now the company claims it will more than double the fuel economy of a standard diesel rig. Susan?
So how far are we from seeing a real workable electric 18-wheeler?
Well, one that can go long distances, and we're talking 200, 300, 400 miles. That's how far these big rigs travel. We're looking at 20 to 30 years before we can have the energy density in a lithium-ion battery to haul the goods, to make it up these mountains, make it down the mountains, and to go to 200 to 300 miles on a single charge. But we may not actually need that. I talked to the folks at the University of Michigan at their Transportation Institute there, and they're looking at a way of doing away with long hauling altogether. They think it's more efficient to electrify rails, bring the goods closer to the city centers, and have electric trucks that only travel about 100 miles, take the goods off the truck from there, sort of a spoke and wheel system. So maybe 30 years from now, we'll be talking about big rigs, these long haul rigs out. People used to sit in drive these trucks for 12, 13 hours. That might be something of the past, Susan.
Okay, Lee Patrick Sullivan, thank you.